Hello, this is James Penha, and I'm going to read a little from one of the stories in my Červená Barva press chapbook of 15 years ago. The chapbook is Snakes and Angels, adaptations of Indonesian folk tales. And I'm here in Indonesia on a windy day in Bali, and I wish the press and Gloria congratulations on their 20 years. I'm glad I was there then, and I'm glad I'm still here. The Farmer and His Angel. We have, in this time, accustomed ourselves to the nudity of sprites and nymphs. Indeed, thanks to the impressions of artists and a few truly rude pornographers, we can stare at fleshy buds just where we, according to our wont, hope to see them on the serene bodies of fays and elves. Yet, even as we remember well that pixies and their like share with us corporeal realities, we have forgotten that fairies depended for flight in the old days not on wings, but on magical robes. And so it was in those times that heaven's most beautiful angels, 3 male and 3 female, donned their gowns to fly to earth, to feel again at dawn the pleasure of a swim in Lake Toba on the great island of Sumatra. Safely descended, the angels cast their gowns along the lakeside and dove into the stirring coolness. Now, none of this escaped the notice of a young Batak farmer. The farmer had hoped that morning only to earn a few rupiah for a sack of small potatoes. Instead, he earned the sight of beauty beheld rarely by humans of any tribe. Such perfection to the eye would have satisfied most of us, I think, and we would have resumed our preoccupation proudly rarefied. But the farmer was young and unencumbered by the knowledge of perimeters. The farmer wanted an angel. He would have taken any one of them, but chose, with a mind for future success as well as present appetites, a sweet and golden girl. As the angel swam deep in Toba, the farmer lifted sweet Angela's gown, rolled it tightly, and stuffed it under his sarong into his loincloth. When the angels felt the lake warm with the daylight, they swam to shore and gathered their clothes for the flight back to heaven. But even as 5 angels ascended to the tops of trees, Angela searched for her gown. She called for her friends to help, but of course, not even angels can see the truth hidden in the underwear of a selfish man. Angela lifted her voice. I know now I must stay. Return and tell heaven I shall live as good a life as I can on earth, as long as I must remain bound to the ground. That's the beginning of the story. This is James Penha. Thank you for the opportunity to do a little reading today.
My name's Kevin Gallagher, and I'm accompanied by Martha Collins, and the two of us edited Ceremonial Entries. This is a posthumous book by the great Boston poet Joseph DeRoche. Joseph DeRoche was a professor at Northeastern University and a real stalwart and centerpiece of the Boston poetry scene that really deserved a larger and more national platform. And Martha and I are so happy and honored that Červená Barva Press published his posthumous book just a few years ago. Martha will read a poem and then I will, and we'll move on. Let me introduce Martha Collins.
Thank you, Kevin. And I should say, Kevin kindly made me the co-editor of this book. Joseph DeRoche was a dear friend of mine and had been for many years. But the primary editor was certainly Kevin, and I thank him for inviting me to write an introduction and help. I'm going to read a poem called A Little Song for St. Mary of Egypt. This poem is one of a series of saints' poems that Joe DeRoche wrote in the late 1970s and 1980s. Joe was, by that time, a returning but most unorthodox Catholic. A Little Song for St. Mary of Egypt. She was Cairo's golden whore, an endless and revolving door. You know the kind. They'll steal you blind if passion weren't a one-night stand. The kind who'll lend a helping hand and only charge a modest fee. For nothing good is ever free. St. Mary of Egypt, pray for me. Well, she thought she'd take a little trip. She'd cruised so much, she thought a ship would give her rest. She was thrice blessed. The captain, first and second mate, and all the crew became her freight. She sailed to holy, happy ground by sea. St. Mary of Egypt, pray for me. When they cheered her off the boat, she started her holiday all afloat, 2 inches off the ground, her name renowned. 1,000 hearts would not forget. But in the Holy Land, hard-edged regret pushed her back invisibly, that special cup of tea. St. Mary of Egypt, pray for me. All of a sudden, she thought of love, the thing she knew God knows most of, the last poor trick where hearts will stick. And the ground moved up to kiss her feet. Her prostituted loves went sweet. She spun by 1 degree, shook off idolatry. St. Mary of Egypt, pray for me. Mary understood how she could stay clear across where most folks love or hate. She let her hair grow long, became a hermit for a song. Dressed in her hair like a little bird, she perched without a word upon God's tree. They let her be. St. Mary of Egypt, pray for me. I sing you her song because of this. As there are many ways to kiss or ways to hit or take the bit between our teeth, some of us will say, her first life or her last's the better way. What's that to you or me? In spirit or in body, she loved most liberally. St. Mary of Egypt, pray for me.
Such a terrific poem. Joe DeRoche spoke and wrote and poems on a wide range of subjects: jukeboxes, rag pickers on Joy Street here in Boston. But to continue the theme of that Martha shared, and I'll continue with a more religious poem as well. One of a series of sonnets that he put together on the birth of Jesus. The poem I'll read is called Infant Jesus. By kneeling down, we get to see close up. An oil lamp hisses, spits, and spills gold light. You nest inside it like a golden drop, a bead of butter in a blacked out night. Incense of milk, warm caramel and blood slips from your lips and slips each breath, small size, small wrists and fists. Around you, dung, hay, wood, cold stone. A cough. You open your eyes and look unfocused all around, wide-eyed. We look into that look and catch a glint where we're reflected, where we watch outside. You close your eyes, you sleep. What has it meant? That's but the lamp we saw. That was his star, we say. That fired fleck, that turn of nebula. As I said, there's so many different kinds of poems in this great 200 plus posthumous collection of Joe DeRoche's work. You can get it on the Červená Barva webpage. And we just really want to say congratulations on behalf of Martha and myself to Gloria for a great first 20 years, and we know she'll be kicking for a lot longer than that. This is a terrific press, a real cornerstone of the Boston literary scene, and thank you, and we're honored to be two of your editors. Thanks so much.
And thanks for me.
The erotics of labor. Well, first of all, Gloria, congratulations on 20 years of your press. And I'm happy to be a big supporter and friend, and appreciate the couple of readings you have held for me when you were in Somerville at the Armory. This poem reading was actually published in Lana Turner Journal a few years ago. This is the issue 13. And the poem, the first draft of it, was written over 20 years ago and has seen a few changes and finally was picked up. The erotics of labor. Cape Ann Tool Company stands silent now in Pigeon Cove, skinned from the salt of the sea, whose voice bellows in the winter storm, whose voice in summer slaps and simmers granite slabs. Its echo bangs enormous in memory, like a cell that holds on to disease, and in the end silences all. The bang, clang, bang, traveling not lightly, not on tiptoe, not with ease within the silenced boys whose legs no longer hang from metal doors open at whistled noon. Those soot-faced, sweat-laced boys, bagged lunches at their sides, squeezed cigarettes between their blackened lips, laughed and cat-called from the inferno of iron melting iron. Blue burst of a man-made hell, the heat to the passer-by, palpable, inescapable. Oils thickened in nostrils, a satin hair ribbon decorated a filthy throat. In dread, I dreamed of the lewd calling, whistling boys who inhaled oil and salt, exhaled virile lust. Boys on the other side now of the great metal doors of a time. But the silence now cannot silence the bang, clang, bang. One of the boys must have sung to it. One of them must have felt like dancing to that music. The noise was like that, stunning, swirling, sweeping, sweating, sweet in the groin. The noise changed teenage boys into men as their greased hands slid up and around curves of machinery.
Happy 20th anniversary. I'm going to read from my novel, Temporary Shelter. All Nikolai's talk about literature had gotten beneath her skin. She remembered one time when she was a child and her father wasn't home. She went into his bedroom and stood in front of the chest of drawers with ornate wood carvings meant to look like stained glass that towered above her. All the drawers had brass handles, and when she was small, she liked to lift them and let them fall with a ring. When she touched the cherry wood, it was slick with furniture polish that smelled of lemon. Her father kept miscellaneous items in his top drawer. She moved a chair up to it, took her shoes off, and stepped onto the prickly green upholstery. When she pulled the drawer open, it revealed handkerchiefs, cufflinks, scraps of paper filled with writing she couldn't read yet, and an inkwell and a pen. She picked up the inkwell with one hand and the pen with the other. Balancing with both arms in the air, she carefully stepped down. Not bothering to close the drawer or move the chair, she ran back to her room and shut the door. She leaned against it as she imagined bandits did after they made a safe escape, admiring the heavy rise and fall of her chest. Next, she went to her mother in the living room. "Mama, can I read a book?" "A book?" Her mother looked towards the shelf at the Nekraso volumes. "He wrote about the plights of the lower class." "They're too hard for you," she sighed. "Please, Mama." Anna said, "All right, Anna. Take one." Her mother reached up for one of the volumes. Anna hugged it to her chest, pressed the hard cover to her stomach. "Thank you," she remembered to say. Anna went back to her room. The bedroom floor could have been a desk. She set the book down on it. Before the title page, there was a blank page perfect for her poem. She opened the inkwell and dipped the pen inside. When she touched it to the page, it immediately left a blurry-edged blob. Horse was the first word she tried to write. She had recently learned how to spell it at school, and it seemed to be just the right word to begin a poem. She couldn't control the ink flow from the pen, though. It left one of her palms black. This surprised her because she had watched her father write so easily, signing his name to important documents. Horse occupied the whole page. She had to break it up because it wouldn't fit on one line. She closed the book and put it under her bed, along with the inkwell and pen. The perfect creation she had envisioned was a failure. She lay on her bed and tried to forget, but a horse galloped through her mind. Finally, there was a knock at the door. "Yes," she answered. Before the door fully opened, she saw her father's hand. "Papa!" she cried, jumped up and threw her arms around him. "Anna," he said. She slipped back down onto the bed when she heard his stern voice. Of course. She had forgotten about the open drawer. "I wanted to write a letter to a dear friend in Moscow, and I couldn't find my pen." "Maybe Andrei borrowed it," Anna said, deciding to put the blame on her older brother, who liked to torture her so much. "He's always writing important letters. He has a friend in Paris." It was a fact she had heard from her governess. "Andrei has been studying at his friend's house all day." "Oh," Anna gulped. "I'm going to go to the kitchen to have a cup of tea. When I return, maybe I'll find the pen back in my drawer. You just never know." Anna noticed his shiny black shoes were probably nearly touching the inkwell under her bed. She waited for his footsteps to fade away. Then she reached for the inkwell and pen. She headed to her father's room, full of forbidden objects that she wanted to make hers. Thank you.
Happy anniversary to Červená Barva Press, and a huge shout out to Gloria, who published my first chapbook, my first significant publication when I was just starting out. It's From Tehran to Texas, and you can see the state of Texas with a wonderful Persian painting inside of it. I still love that cover, and I still love this chapbook, and I'm still grateful for this press and all the great work it's done. I'm gonna read a villanelle. It goes back to my childhood as an Iranian American in San Antonio, Texas, during the revolution and all the horrific stuff that was happening to my family, racist implications in San Antonio during the revolution. So it's San Antonio, 1979, in the chapbook From Tehran to Texas. Iranians never escaped that year. My father said, "Tell people you're from France." For an eternity, I'm forced to hear this kid in third grade science named Pierre asking, "Ça va?" I didn't have a chance. Iranians never escape. That year, they dragged me down the hallway by my hair, blindfolded, screaming in Texas accents. For an eternity, I'm forced to hear, "Hey Ayatollah, you're not welcome here. The US is for us." As immigrants, Iranians never escape that. Year to year, we relive it whenever we're in an airport and get looked at askance for an eternity. I'm forced to hear customs detaining my father declare, "It's just routine." Voices that turn a man's ear on eons never escape that year. For an eternity, I'm forced to hear.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Penton, and I'm a friend of the press. The poem I'm going to read today is based on an untitled sculpture by Joel Shapiro that can be found in the New Orleans Sculpture Garden. We fit wrong over the phone. We fit wrong face to face. We fit wrong when I'm touching your cheek, telling you what I regret. Yet I would sit at this coiled wire forever. I have only built a shaky bridge a day. Time twists on itself like our bad attempts at romance, leaving me with memories that never happened and may not. Our misfitting doesn't mean much, but it isn't a mistake. Our dysfunction doesn't offer the condemnation we rely on to excuse our horrid fit. I will reach for you every night and cup my hand around you in ways that never seemed funny or cute. Happiness is not a birthright. Happiness ain't even real. But all our bad connections will remain timeless, a hunk of unnamed bronze. Thank you.
Hi, welcome. My name is Pamela Laskin. Happy birthday, Červená Barva Press, 20 years. Thank you, Gloria Mindock, for producing so many beautiful books, including 2 of mine. First, I'll start reading from one poem from Van Gogh's Ear, published in 2009, Blueberry Picking, to Ira. In a forest, on a vine, sun climbs into the branches, many ripe berries, blue-stained hands, tan faces. I bite into a sour one. My face does an acrobatic act. You seize this moment for a kiss, a tiny little delicious thing between my lips. And I conclude with a poem from Words Unwhispered, a book of Hazel's written mostly during the pandemic in 2023. And I will read the first poem in the book, which is called Prayers, and I have lots of prayers, including the continued success of Červená Barva Press. Writing was my talisman, it was my peace. Now I dig for words, there is no peace. The world is Humpty Dumpty, shattered pieces. I try to search for dreams in broken pieces. The virus bleeds us dry, there is no peace. But then I write this poem, my prayer for peace. Thank you, and have a good day.
Dear friends, from Estonia, I send my cordial regards and congratulations to Gloria Mindock, the wonderful, outstanding American poet, and her publishing house, admirable, exceptional publishing house, Červená Barva. I have just one book published by Červená Barva, and besides Gloria Mindock and and Červená Barva, I owe a lot of thankfulness to Harvey L. Hicks, my old friend, American friend, philosopher, poet, with whom we generally collaborate. All my poetry has been originally written in Estonian, and now the result is here, translation of a poem from my book published by Červená Barva. Monday, a week before Christmas, is cold in Riga. The wind bites shrewdly. The theatre is lighted, but Jaak says he stumbled from there just a few steps into the darkness, into which I too fall. I lose everything. I recover everything. I remember nothing, and I remember everything. Inara, Zintra, and Mirza, snows from the past, where are they? As I fall through my mother's lap into the boom of my Latvian great-grandmother, who never in her life spoke ill to anybody. Thank you, all the best.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Gallagher. Congratulations and happy anniversary to Gloria and Červená Barva Press. I'm honored to have published a 2008 chapbook called Isolate Flex, with a great picture from Anne Rierick of the St. Peter's Fiesta in Gloucester in 1998. I'll read one poem since it's baseball season. This one's called The Kid's Economy. Yeah, I'll admit Bernie Carbo's card meant more to me than any lousy dollar bill. I took pride in that then, and always will. Gosh, in those days I had so much wealth stored in my bedroom, you couldn't see the floor. It was chock full of G.I. Joes just killed by the King Ken doll on my windowsill. I didn't get the Ken doll at a store. I traded an unopened pack of cards, a pack of Razzles, and a Hot Wheels car. But you know, after I closed that deal, I ran, because those agreements didn't go too far. Sure, we said no trade backs and shook hands, but there's no telling with a Yankee fan. Thanks so much.
Happy 20th birthday to Červená Barva Press, and big thanks to Gloria Mindock. I'm so excited to be reading a poem from my book, Asking the Form, published in 2020 by Červená Barva Press. The poem I'm going to read was also nominated that year for the Pushcart by Červená Barva Press. Poem of Window Glass. A window frames our seeing and we forget it's there. Then, a moment without hope, we lean our faces against it and discover the glass, cold, ungiving. The window is without ornament. Something streams through to fall on us inside where dust lies unmoved. On the other side of the window, liveliness, source, pigeons and clouds going about their business. The window glass stands at the balance, hard transparency, bare ripple of light. The soul in us looks down through window glass to the ground where snow is soaking in, crusting over, not calling for attention, not demanding, answering.
Though the summer now long here, the cherry blossom lingers on and blushes in the innocence of childhood, a mischievous gleam from an eye of wisdom, eternal youth.